Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening and welcome to the final round of the Ricmotech GT Pro Pedals Sportscar Series. We are at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia in Spain. I am Tom Cairns in the commentary position. Alongside me is Jeremy Scott with Amet in the background working on the production side of things. We are in qualifying at the moment and with championships still at stake as well as particular championship positions. There is still a lot at stake. It has to be said, going into this 1 hour race, which will include a mandatory pit stop for each of the cars in all three classes. Let's have a rundown on the championship scores going into the final round of the season. We'll begin with the LMP3s at the top with the drop weeks included because every driver drops a score from a round. Noah Hogg is, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong class. The driver at the top of the standings with the drop week included. That would be Zach Hebert, who leads the way by 2 points over Robert Schrenkler in second place on 193. And then it's João de Gregorio in third place with 189. And in fourth position is Joshua Vidal on 179. He's got no chance of clinching the championship. It's a three-way decider between Hebert, Schrenkler and de Gregorio. On the GT3s, Noah Hogg is at the top of the pile on 204 points, but the good news for him is that he's already mathematically clinched the championship last time out at Monza. And so it is Neil Weston who is in second place on 194 and Aaron Sunday in third on 185. There's still a decider for second place in that. What Sunday needs to do is outscore Weston by 10 points or more. Which is roughly 5 finishing positions ahead to finish in second position. In the GT4s, Travis Schrenker is at the top of the pile on 195 points. But the good news for him, unlike his rivals, is that if he was to have an absolute mare of it in this last round of the season, his drop score of either rounds 1 or 2 will be applied to his final score. And by that, Schrenker has already clinched the championship mathematically, so he can have a free run in this one. But there is obviously there is a battle for second place between Robert Hartley and Mike Dam, most realistically, both of which have missed a round or didn't start a round, which was last time out at Monza. So they'll be fighting everyone is in second position there. Let's get a word with Jeremy, who's been waiting patiently to get his thoughts on what he thinks is going to play out here in Barcelona. Jeremy, good evening. How are you?
Oh, good evening. I'm fine. It's great to see that we're using the classic Barcelona circuit, and in Greg and Lefty's great, miscalculation, they let me back into the booth here for the Ricmotech Sportscar Challenge. But it's great to see here Jeff Jacobs. I think that probably slipped to 20 for me to get in here, but either way, it's great to be here, and I'm really excited because we get to see a classic layout that really shines for sports cars here at Barcelona. And the points championships going to be absolutely stellar, going down to the wire, and pit strategy is going to be everything for those drivers.
Absolutely. So, like you say, we are using the old layout of Barcelona without the final chicane, and so they'll be going through turns 13 and 14 almost flat out. In these machines, it'll be a lot more flowing for these compared to would be if they were using the chicane at the latter part of the lap. We're into the last minute, and so far, looking at the qualifying time, Zach Herbert is at the top with on a 1 minute 35.2, 7 cents quicker over João de Gregorio in second position. And in the GT3s, Dale Maxwell is fastest there ahead of Neil Weston. The gap is just 0.02 of a second, so very, very tight between those two drivers. And Noah Hogg in third place over Aaron Sunday, Chris Hampson, Doug Klimovich, and John Casey run out the 7 drivers in that class. And finally, in the GT4s, Mike Dam is fastest by 0.3 of a second over Robert Hartley, with Travis Schrenker, Dan Carrido, Jeff Jacobs, David Klimovich, and Ross Ruddock.
Of course, qualifying just ending too, so get these cars gridded up here shortly. But either way, it's going to be an interesting battle, to say the least. You mentioned that the cars, I think the cars that will definitely run flat out through those final couple of corners, for the most part, will be those LMP3s, and that's going to be absolutely stellar to see the commitment that these drivers are going to have to go through this section right here at full speed.
Yeah, and here's the grid for today's race. We begin with the LMP3s with Zach Herbert on pole position ahead of João de Gregorio, with Bobby Childs and Pan Hirode in fourth position. And then in the GT3s, we've got Dale Maxwell at fastest ahead of Neil Weston and Noah Hogg and Aaron Sunday, with Chris Hampson, Doug Klimovich, and John Casey running out those in GT3s. And finally, in the GT4s, Mike Dam is on pole position in that class, ahead of Robert Hartley and Travis Schrenker. Dan Carrido, Jeff Jacobs, David Klimovich, and Ross Ruddock round out the 18 drivers throughout the whole field. And so we've got plenty to look out for over the course of the next hour. Looking at the fuel loads for the drivers as to when they're going to need to pit in, because there will be mandatory pit stops for these, because the fuel can only go as far as it will. So fuel tank range, we're talking about 25 laps, or around about 40 minutes for the LMP3s. In the GT3s, looking at 23 laps or 40 minutes. And then in the GT4s, 20 laps or 38 minutes. So it'll be similar phases in the race when they'll start to come in for a pit stop, albeit they're on different laps to each other around about the same time.
Yeah, I think that fuel window is going to open up halfway through the race as we're just about set to get going here. So it'll be interesting to see if something at the back.
We appear to have some technical difficulties as we speak, so we'll look to rectify that in due course. And the pace car will have taken the field round turns 11 and 12. But by the time the race is about to get underway, hopefully we'll have sorted out the difficulties that we are facing. But like I say, we'll hope to bring the race in Barcelona to you very, very shortly.
Back to what I was saying too, it's going to be interesting to see. I think that pit stop window, excuse me, will open up about halfway through the race, especially for LMP3. So if you got Bobby Childs or Hydridre moving there towards the back of the pack, they might try and go for the undercut. Would not be surprised to see that at all. Of course, GT3s and GT4s can last a little longer than the other classes as well. So that's something to watch out for on the other side.
Yep, and I would agree with that, because if you can run your fuel to the brim, it may be the difference between completing an undercut and not. But of course, if the cars are close together in their respective classes, then I can imagine the field strategies are going to be something to look out for. And you are looking at the wrong circuit. We do apologise for that. We're not racing at the Golden Circuit. We are racing at Barcelona. But like I've just mentioned, we'll get the pictures over at Barcelona to your screen in any moment. And it looks like the lights have just come on, and we are good to go racing here in Barcelona. And we've just seen I think those are the GT4s on your screen, and it looks like Mike Dam has got off to a superstar ahead of Robert Hartley. And then we've got Travis Schrinker and Dan Corrido in 3rd and 4th places, followed by Jeff Jacobs and David Klimovich, with Ross Ruddock at the back. Let's go to the LMP3s, because they're the ones at the front. It is Zach Hebert coming out of turn number 6, turn 9 rather, in the lead over João Di Gregorio, ahead of Bobby Charles and Pine Hiride. So there's no change in those top 4 positions from where they were on the grid. Further back in the GT3s, Dale Maxwell is in the lead by 0.7 of a second over Noah Hogg, with Neil Weston, Aaron Sunday, Doug Klimovich, Chris Hampton and John Casey. We'll just see Sunday getting some heat into his tyres. We won't have had a lot of time on the pace lap to get those up to temperature, so he's just trying to gather some temperature at this early stage.
Yeah, track temperature 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 66 degrees. And of course, that is raising from what it was earlier today as well, as your GT4 is coming down the back straightaway with Dam ahead of Hartley and Schwenka. So far, so good. And really, no need to push here early on in this race. It is an hour, so it's kind of that midway between a sprint and an endurance race. You definitely don't want to push yourself too much. Of course, most of these cars are Porsches, with Jacobs running the Aston Martin and Ruddock running a BMW. So you might as well call this the almost a Spec Cayman series, as they're working their way around the final corner. Jeff Jacobs running the SCCA Foundation Aston Martin, switching from a Mustang earlier on this season. And yeah, you're starting to see some of the times really close up. Hydre has an off track in turn number 4, but one of the turns, but you're on board with Dam, as he is, Jacobs, as they was trying to hold off the Porsche of Klimovich, as Klimovich is all over that back bumper. And with the 2 long straightaways, you're going to see a lot of that here in this 1-hour race.
No, it's not the easiest circuit to get overtakes done at, but I can tell you that Chris Hampton has got by Doug Klimovich for 5th place in the GT3s, so he's a man on the move. I think Doug Klimovich is also now behind John Casey, so it looks like Doug is struggling at the moment, so we'll find out more exactly what he's been up to, but he's now a few seconds off John Casey now. I think Klimovich has made a mistake on this lap, and looking at the gravel that's been left over, he might have been off the circuit over at turn number 5, Jeremy.
Yeah, so a little bit of gravel there. I want to apologize. It's Hyride that is Pan's name, so we'll work on that. Of course, that's being substituted announcers. Don't hit us too hard with the wet noodles, but thank you for helping us either way. As you're watching Mike Dam try and keep Robert Hartley behind him. It's a Canadian ahead of an American. Porsche against Porsche as they work their way around the carousel, heading out towards the final couple of corners. And that's what's interesting also about this track. You see the 2 different corners. I think that this flowing section going into the final 2 right-handers is perfect for sports cars, because it really allows you to get a run there onto the front straightaway and then towards the heavy braking zone in turn number 1. As you see Schwenka, he's the interested spectator in this GT4 battle, and really this is the battle of the race right now, because you also have Dan Corrido not too far away from that as well. Single file for the most part. Hartley taking a look to the inside, and he's not going to make anything happen. He's 0.2 of a second away, but he's still way too far away from making anything happen.
Yeah, did you notice how wide Schrenker took at the penultimate turn? And he had to have both sides of the tyres either side of that sausage curb. Because otherwise, had he got the tyre on the curb, it'd have been going into Tony Hawk mode. And it would have gone skating.
Yeah, it would have been easily would have been game over for him, and that's something you really got to watch out for, especially with the amount of speed that you're carrying off that final corner. And plus, you also have to keep in mind that you don't want to get an off-track penalty, so keeping those 2 tires on the racing surface really saves you from getting that off-track penalty. On to the GT3 class, where Dale Maxwell holding a 1 second advantage over Noah Hogg and Neil Weston. So it's Mustang, Porsche, BMW. Your top 3, 2 seconds separates all 3 of those. But Weston closing in on Hogg for that second spot. And I think that sausage curb is just going to be absolutely treacherous, especially the longer that you get into some of these runs.
Yeah, Rachel Sunday's coming in as well. Aaron on, good evening to you. And Brian Ray is saying Klim Club. Presumably is the fan of both the Klimavitches in the field. And at the moment, Doug is in 7th place in the GT3s, whereas David is in 6th in the GT4s. So they'll hope to make up some ground. What I've noticed as well is that there's numerous drivers with, there's multiple representatives from certain teams like Orion Racing, because they've got the top 3 drivers in the top 3 positions in the GT4s, and you've also got the likes of I think Slowbros as well. We've got 1 driver in each, or 3 drivers rather, as we see a replay of Doug Klimavitch is going to, that's Klimavitch actually in the background. No, it's not, that's Klimavitch in the picture that we are seeing, but I saw a driver spin round at turn 4, and I think Klimavitch may end up doing the same thing. He's just locked the rears on the way into the corner.
I wonder if that's John Casey in the 78 as he is ahead of Klimavitch, but yeah, Klimavitch just locking up those tires. That just happens. It is what it is, especially through that corner, because it is an absolute tough corner to master really on any good day. That was always Achilles heel when I tried to run as much as I can to get better at iRacing. Yeah, no, that's why I have the mic right now. So we'll go with that. Mike Dam, though, still leading this train of Hartley, Schwenka, 1, 2, 3. And sitting back there in 4th, Dan Carrito with a little bit of a jump there as he comes out of turn number 8. So you're on board with your 3rd place driver as Schwenka he's trying to hold pace, and I would not be surprised if the 3 Orion race team Caymans decide to try and break apart. No, Hartley goes a little high, wide, and handsome through turn number 10, and that's going to be a side-by-side for 2nd place in GT4. Hartley's going to continue on with that, but I have a feeling that these 3 are going to try and break away from the rest of the field, and then it's going to be team orders, game on at that point.
Yeah, and you've got Carrito, who isn't too far back, so maybe the Orion race team cars will want to try and stretch out the margin over the others before they consider starting racing. Aaron Sunday posted the fast lap of the race in his own class, 1 minute 42.1. But the fast lap of the race in the LMP3s, it has to be the race leader at the moment. That is Zach Hebert with a 1 minute 36.539. So he is continuing to set some good lap times as we speak. Although I think maybe the last lap time he did just before the one he's posted now was an invalid one, so it's now a 1:36.7, hence why it's green and not in white.
Tom, one of the reasons why I absolutely love doing this series is looking at the chat. Zandy Novak 7127 says, OHND, let's go Sunday, and then, I kid you not, I'm holding up the line at Disneyland for you, Dad, so I don't lose service. Well, you know what? I hope you're relegated to a life if it's a small world stuck in your head all day, every day, because darn it, it's stuck in mine now.
I mean, I don't know what to say on that one. I'll let the chat decide on that one. But meanwhile, we've got a battle for 2nd place in the GT3s. Noah Hogg and Neil Weston tossing it, and I think Hogg has made a move on Weston for P2, unless it was Hogg just holding on. But it is the Porsche in front of the BMW, heading into the long sweeping right-hander of turn 3 before they go towards the turn 4 hairpin, which a lot of you will know that it's famous or infamous for the Lewis Hamilton-Nico Rosberg incident in 2016. Yes, it is that long ago since it happened.
I don't want to believe that. No. And I see that Ebert is finally lapping GT4 traffic. And I want to touch upon this subject because it's kind of a hot button item. This is week 12 in season 1 of 2026 here on iRacing. And I want to get your opinion because it seems like that the Porsche, it's a great short run car, whereas the BMW, it's going to be a better long run car. That could all be turned on its head come week 13 when the new BLP comes out.
Very interesting that, as we see the GTs continue on in this race. We're 10 minutes into this now. The LMP3s are on their 7th lap. The GT3s are approaching the end of their 6th lap. And the GT4s have just started their 6th lap now as well. And we should start to see, I think the LMP3s have already gone by the GT4s already. So we're going to see quite a bit of that as we see Bobby Childs go through or filter his way through the traffic. Now, this is not necessarily a section where you want to get caught up behind him. He's gone through anyway as Bobby Childs in 3rd place, and Neil Weston has taken advantage of Hogg having to lift off, and he's gone back through to 2nd place, although Hogg has other ideas as they continue to dice it out on the way to turn number 9. Well, I say turn number 9. This is the back of the 2nd place, just going out turns 1 and 2. Nose to tail these, and there we see Weston on the inside of Hogg into turn 4. And Hogg has left a tremendous amount of space for the BMW to go on by. But I think Hogg with the high ground and with the acceleration is able to just hold on. Oh, that's contact though. Weston ran into Hogg, pushed him out wide. I wonder if that will be perceived as a push to pass move. Yeah, I think he's only back through, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the replay here. We'll see in just a little bit, but Sunday, you know, he's been the interested spectator as once again Hogg gets back into that 2nd spot. And now Sunday goes to the inside of Weston around turn number 9 as Weston has to kind of back off just a little bit heading into the braking zone of turn number 10. But this has given Hogg a good head of steam to continue on into 2nd place. And it'll be interesting to see if Hogg braked earlier or Weston just didn't brake as soon. Hoping we'll get a replay here shortly. I know sometimes that iRacing doesn't like to give those incidents, so we'll see exactly what happens here. Well, it looks like it's one of those instances where iRacing's like, I didn't see anything, which just happens. But Hogg has opened up about a 2nd gap between he and Weston and Tom. Now it's Sunday's turn to try and pass the BMW.
Yep, he's going on the inside now, and Maxwell further up ahead, the leader in the GT3s. Has posted a new fast lap of the race within his own class of 141.8 as Weston stays on the outside, which is where the race line is, and is able to pull out a buffer, but he's left the inside open at turn 3 for Sunday to pounce. And is Sunday going to head on through by the time they get to turn 4? If he can be later on the brakes, he might just be on his way through, but as we've seen, that even if you get on the inside, it's not exactly the optimal line for the exit. And I think Sunday's going to have to catch Weston by surprise if he's going to make his way up the order. But remember, as far as the standings are concerned involving the GT3s, Dale Maxwell leading the way in the battle for 4th position, ahead of Greg Brockway, John Casey, Doug Klimovich and Chris Hampton. For Brockway, well, given that Brockway's not here, John Casey is here. He's likely to finish ahead of Brockway because Brockway's obviously not around. And Klimovich, if he was to finish in 4th position or finish ahead of John Casey, would need to outscore him by 4 points or finish 3 positions ahead of him to leapfrog him. There's all sorts of positions that needs to be decided, but as far as the GT4 class is concerned, as I've already mentioned, Noah Hogg is crowned champion, and with Neil Weston virtually secure of 2nd position in the standings.
So Weston doesn't need to race that hard, but we'll see how the rest of the race plays out. Back to our battle of the lead in GT4. I don't know if it's too much of a battle because you've got teammates running 1, 2, and 3 with Schwenka, Hartley, and Garrido as they work their way around turn number 4, setting up for turn number 5. We go back to the GT3 battle between Weston and Sunday. Sunday popped to the inside just a little bit, hitting inside the mirrors of Weston, but that didn't happen whatsoever. And you gotta wonder if Sunday's just biding his time, taking the OHND Mercedes and trying to wear down Weston. But honestly, if I'm Sunday, I'm wearing him down to the point where he's going to have to pit early, and then I'd go for the overcut. But that's just commentator's opinion.
And there we see the GT3s lapping the GT4s. We just saw Neil Weston go by one of them. I think that was Ross Ruddock that he had gone on by, who's having a race to forget so far. It looks like he's been in the wars somewhere, and he's fallen quite a bit off his fellow competitors in the GT4s. He's not down a lap on the class, he's just down a lap on the overall leaders of this race, and those are on the LMP3s. Herbert's lead, or Hebert, however you pronounce it, he's nearly 4 seconds clear over Di Gregorio. With Charles is another 5 seconds back with Pan Hyriday, around about 30 seconds off the leader. He's basically on his own as we speak. Fastest up of the race in the GT4 class from Robert Hartley. He's done a 150.9 compared to the 150.9 as well that Travis Schrenker has posted. So Mike Dam, who was in the lead earlier, is down in 4th position.
Yeah, this is an absolute fantastic battle here as we take a look at a replay in GT4. As you see Mike Dam falling back. Let's see here. Yeah, those, yep, once again, the sausage curbs. It's something we talked about a couple laps ago. You get on those sausage curbs enough and it's going to break you a little looser. Could have been a lot worse, but Mike Dam falling back to 4th. That was worst case scenario. So now he's got to set his sights on that top 3 and try and get back to him. But here's the thing. Did the 2 Orion teammates decide to back up the rest of the field so Mike Dam can get back up front? Time will tell.
Yeah, well, he is closing back in on the 3 leading cars, and David Klimovich has picked up a slowdown. He'll want to get rid of that before he gets penalised. The penalties are severe within iRacing if you don't slow the car down enough to get rid of the yellow flag next to your name on the timing tower. Now we look at Neil Weston in 3rd position with Aaron Sunday for company. So those supporting Sunday have a chance to see how he gets on in terms of battling on the racetrack. Robert Hartley is on the tail of Travis Schrenker. Out of the last corner they come. I don't think it's going to be close enough as the slipstream in these GT4s aren't as effective. But let's see if he can catch Schrenker by surprise. Dam has just responded the fast up of the race in the GT4s. It's a 1 minute 50.
And that's no surprise right there. Now that he's running about almost a half second faster than Carrito. He is closing that gap visually, but now we go back to the GT3 battle. Sunday looks to the inside. Not enough room to make a safe pass, which is absolutely smart to do. You're on board with the Mercedes of Aaron Sunday, the OHND Racing Mercedes GT3 as they work their way through the GT4 traffic. They'll have a bunch more to deal with here shortly. They'll have to pick their way through a bunch of Caymans, but either way, here's the thing, they still have Hog in sight. I don't think that contact between Weston and Hog caused too much damage to really either the BMW or the Porsche, which is kind of surprising because of how big that nose is on the BMW.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at Sunday at the moment, who's got Weston in his sights. There is another car ahead of him, and that's Noah Hogg. So this is now turning into a 3-way fight for 2nd place in the GT3s. The next driver behind, Chris Hampton, is a long way back for these. In fact, nearly 20 seconds off. That's how much of a league of their own they are in, Hogg, Weston and Sunday. None so than Dale Maxwell, who is once again dominating proceedings, 9 seconds clear. I wonder if he's carrying a little bit less fuel though at this stage, because he's thinking about when to pit in. Because if he started on a lighter fuel load, that means he'll be pitting in sooner. But if he's looking at stopping at around about the halfway mark, and we just see Weston and Sunday get held up by the GT4 on the entry. I wonder if that was Jeff Jacobs and David Klimovich, which they're coming up to lap. And that was so close to being an enormous accident there at turn number 13. But it got through anyway. And now Charles Di Gregorio is the latest to pick up a slowdown. So he'll need to get that off sooner rather than later. Looking further back where we see João de Gregorio, the Brazilian, racing for the Rosso esports squad. He's around about 9 seconds clear over the D2D sim racing driver of Bobby Childs.
And of course, that's what makes good drivers great, is they're able to capitalize on taking the slowdown penalty without losing too much ground. So yeah, D. Greg Gregorio, although he is 6 seconds behind, he's still making his way, you know, without losing too much of a gap. Let's go back to that battle for second place. I'm going to call it second place in GT3 between Hog, Weston, and Sunday. It's Weston opened up a big gap to Sunday. It's almost a full second last time by, but here's the thing. Now he's catching up to Hog, and yeah, like you said, we're starting to get into times when things are, when drivers need to think about pit stops, Tom, and you know, that's right there. This GT3 group, I would not be surprised if they decide, you know what, let's not battle through this GT4 calamity. Let's make our way into the pits, because if they can pit now, they might be able to make it to the race, although at the end of the race, however, there we go. We see Weston going into the pits. So he's thinking what I'm thinking, reverse strategy and try and get out ahead of these GT4s later on.
Yeah, we'll see whether the gamble takes it pays off later for Weston, as he makes his way into the pit lane, the first of those to make a pit stop. No one had to come in for repairs or anything like that. So he's in now, which means he'll be on a heavier fuel load from now until the end. But he's thinking long ahead, because if he's fighting with those, he's losing time and he's having to get out of the way of the faster cars. Whereas if he pits in now, he could just focus on his own driving and hope that he can perform an undercut later on. We'll keep an eye on the lap times as well, whilst those that haven't stopped yet are on their old set of tyres whilst burning the fuel off.
So that's a question of how long can Weston keep, does he have to go full throttle? Does he have to take it easy around the final part of the race? That's the big question, as now you're seeing LMP3 traffic work their way again around the GT4s, and I believe that's Hebert who has once again made another lap around the Schwenka-Hartley duo right there, as you're on board with Robert Hartley, one of the 3 Orion race team Caymans, down the back straightaway heading into turn number 10. And let's see what the gap is to Mike Dam. It's about 6 seconds. So now the only way that Dam's could be able to catch up with them is if they do some sort of strange pit strategy where this duo either pits in first or Mike Dam pits in first, and they work their way around. So I'm keen to see how this will all play out.
We'll see soon enough, and we're right on board with Robert Hartley, who's still got Travis Schrimke in his sights as they come around to complete another lap. The LMP3s have done 14 laps of racing now. The gap between Hebert and Di Gregorio is 3.5 seconds. But I think Hebert has been in full swing since the race had started. Now we'll stay in touch with the battle in the GT4s, because that's the closest battle we've got for you right now. There we look at Schrenker and Hartley in the lead and in second place. Mike Dam is a couple of seconds off third place man Dan Garrido. And we're going to see a replay. I think this is John Casey going through turn 7. If he's gone off the circuit, it's not his first mistake of the race. Yeah, he's just got a slide, caught the gravel, and you're not going to find any grip there. So more woes for John Casey at this stage. He's on his way again, but that's left him with more work to do than desired.
Not a good night for Casey. Hopefully he can, you know, take this half of the race and, you know, say forget about it and turn it into a 30-minute sprint race in just a little bit. You see Schwenka jumping all around as more and more LMP3s are making their laps around this GT4 traffic. And let's take a look at the chats real quick. It saw something. Awesome. Go figure. There we go. Drake Miller, 2367. If Noah wins, well, we have to call it the Hog Dynasty.
Yeah. That's actually a good phrase. That's a good way of calling it. That should probably be his nickname from here on in. But well, he's not in the lead at the moment. He's 12 seconds off the lead of Dale Maxwell. So he's got some work to do. I wonder if Maxwell's on the lighter fuel though compared to what Hogg is doing. That may well explain it, but we'll find out soon enough. We're coming towards the 25-minute mark in this race. We've got a pit stop now, one of the GT4s. That is Mike Dam, who I think, Jeremy, is going for the same strategy as what Neil Weston did when he came in.
Now look, I'm not saying I graduate from the Davey Hamilton School of Race Strategy, but I've been 2 for 2 so far in my picks. We'll see what happens throughout the race. Speaking of Noah Hogg, he's got Aaron Sunday this time all over his rear wing as Neil Weston took that early pit stop, and now John Casey finally decides to bring his Porsche in for service as he will take his first and only compulsory pit stop. I love this camera view. There's something about either sitting there on the wing end plate or right there on the quarter panel, looking straight ahead and watching the car move around the racetrack. This is also a great view too, because you get to see the closeness of the braking zone. Sunday, getting close on a Monday to trying to make sure he can go to the bank on Tuesday for a good payday as Hogg slips a little bit coming around the corner, and that's not going to give Sunday a chance to close in at all.
No, and this is costing Sunday time, actually. The moment he's been stuck behind. If I was Sunday, I would consider going for it now on Hogg, because he's got to think that Weston's coming for a pit stop, and Weston's out in clear air. So Sunday is in the slipstream. I'd say go for it at turn 1. But he's playing out the slipstream now. Is Aaron Sunday on the inside of Noah Hogg into turn 1. Hogg reads it, and he's able to outbrake, and there was no way that Sunday was able to make his way through there. We've got our first retirement of the race, and it's John Casey, who had already suffered 2 mistakes in this race, 2 offs rather, and he's decided to call it a day. So that's unfortunate for John, as he is the first driver to pull out.
Yeah, what a shame for John Casey. Hoping to make something better, but hey, you know, get out there, run just a little bit as here comes Sunday to the inside as Hogg goes wide around the corner and he's able to launch himself back up front. You know, it's something that I've noticed I wanted to point out is Sunday the past several times that he's tried to get somebody on the inside of turn 1 has not been able to do it. Let's see if he can use this LMP3 as a draft as they work their way around turn number 9, setting up for turn number 10. So they'll stay drivers left as the LMP3 will snake its way. Oh, that was such a strange move as they didn't hold their lines, but the LMP3, here's the thing, the LMP3 and the GT3, they're close on straight end speed. It's just the corners where they have the problem.
Yeah, and you can tell because of the rear wing design of which the LMP3 has. That's Bobby Childs, who are now on board with as he goes round the last couple of corners, and he's lost time in the traffic as well as Bobby Childs, unfortunately. So he's enough to outpace these on the straights, even though it's not necessarily ideal. They should have a pace advantage. If he could just get into the slipstream with the second GT3 of Noah Hogg, he should be able to go through. But look at the amount of draft that Aaron Sunday was able to gain from being stuck behind Bobby Childs.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he had to lose it. He had to lose it to get on the brakes to allow Childs to go around, and there he goes around the outside. Very suboptimal, but that just goes to show when you have that faster traffic there, you have to be predictable. And that is exactly what Noah Hogg was doing, at least for those corners, is just trying to be predictable. And but yeah, unfortunately, Childs has lost a ton of ground on the rest of the field of Ebert and Di Gregorio, as they're 3.5 seconds apart, but still it's 19 seconds now to get back to Bobby Childs as you're on board with Sunday once again, trying to make sure he doesn't back up into Saturday as he's trying to stay on the right day. There's some GT4 traffic as well. That's the BMW that could have been involved with that as we were back inside Sunday's point of view. Does he pop to the inside? He does, but I think what his problem is he's not braking late enough.
Yeah. So he is remaining behind Hogg for now. I'm looking at the championship standings in the LMP3 class, and as it stands with the positions as they are, well, with the fact that Robert Schrunkert is not around tonight, the championship's already won for Zach Heber. So that is, as it, oh, you just see The GT4 going over, the GT3, sorry, going over the curb. The sausage curb. Did you see that launch there, Jeremy? I couldn't believe it, and now he's having to weave to get the dust off his tyres.
Yeah, Sunday got a little squirrely there going over the sausage curb, and he's lost. Let's see, where's that gap at now? As Dale Maxwell is into the pit, so Noah Hogg, your leader, he's lost about a second now.
Yep. And we'll hope to see. We've got a pit stop now over in the GT3s for Dale Maxwell, as he's gone into the pit lane for his only stop of the race. He's coming back out now. He's still in front of Neil Weston, who pitted in a little earlier. So if Weston's going to pass him to take the win, he needs to do it on the circuit. We have our Tony and Tyro back, and it's Noah Hogg, who is the temporary leader. He was 12 seconds off Dale Maxwell before the Ford driver made his way into the pit lane. In the GT4s, it's still just as close.
No surprise here that Schwenke and Hartley have opened up a 20-second gap over Jeff Jacobs. So now, once we get to go time, I think that's going to be about the point that you're going to see these two race each other, get out there, get up front, and now we see a pit stop. Klimovich is into the pits from 6th position. Why not get in there and try the undercut? The 19 going to come down for his compulsory service for the first time and the only time.
Yeah, he's a long way behind, though, is Doug Klimovich anyway, so I'm not expecting him to gain any more than what he's already at. We've got our second retirement of the race. Dan Corrido for the WBM Racing Squad has parked it up. Don't know what's happened to him, whether he's just come into the pit lane and stayed there, but it's the end of the race either way for Dan Corrido. His race is run, but there we look at the top two in GT4, Trunker and Hartley in identical machinery for the racing for the Orion race team. Shrunker in the 16 and Hartley in the 3. Around turn number 12. Personal best up of the race for Bobby Charles, a 136.3, as he continues on before he decides that he needs to pit in. We are very much at the pit window now for these to make their mandatory stops. I would probably say for the GT3s and GT4s, you're looking at them coming in the next 5 or 6 minutes. LMP3s, you're looking at 8 or 9.
Let's see, I would think it'd be the other way around. Here comes Sunday to the inside, gonna poke a nose, and they're not gonna make anything happen. But yeah, you know, I like those estimates too. Yeah, I think we're gonna see a mad dash to pit road. In fact, Gregorio's into the pit. Irije with an off and on somewhere around the circuit. As we'll see if he comes down into the pits. There's Chris Hampton in the McLaren holding off Weston. Of course, Weston already taking his pit stop. Hampton has yet to put the McLaren into pit road. And Weston goes around the inside and they go side by side as the McLaren goes, oh, it's a touch and that's a spin out of Weston as he puts Hampton into the wall. Obviously, I don't think that was, I don't know if Hampton thought that he was clear of Weston. Let's see what happens here, as it was net code. Oh, that was net code right there.
It could well be, but if any of the drivers were to be hurt fault for that, it's most likely going to be Chris Hampton, because he cut back on the inside. I think Weston was entitled to more room there.
I agree, and it's involving car number 6 under review, so we'll get a steward's decision here within the next couple laps. But yeah, no, I totally agree. That was definitely on Hampton, as the onus on that incident is now Sunday goes to the inside, and he has the lead for GT3 for the time being. How long is he going to keep it, as Noah Hogg's going to try and go around the outside, not going to make it happen. So move Aaron Sunday to the point for the time being, but still have an LMP3 back there who wants to get around. Does he make the move? Oh, it's going to be 3 wide going into turn number 7. That was nuts. And Hogg gets his way to the front. Magnificent.
Yeah, that was a bit between the teeth stuff. I think that was it Pan Holiday? I don't think it was. It might have been Di Gregorio who made that move. He's only just come into the pit lane. But either way, it was very risky stuff. I was worried as to whether Hogg was going to know that he was coming through. And thankfully he did. Chris Hampton into the pit lane, which is no surprise because he found the barrier, which would have caused some form of damage to his machine. And as we ride on board with Aaron Sunday sitting in behind Noah Hogg for now, and we'll be looking to line him up on the pit straight in an attempt to go for the class lead in GT3. Sunday's exit was a far better one compared to Hogg, who ran out wide and missed the apex. I think Sunday's going to go on through here. It's wheel to wheel. Hogg will stay on the outside line, which will give him better grip, but it's Sunday who's going to have the inside line. If he can outbrake him, it should be move done, and the move is done. He covers the inside, and through goes Aaron Sunday into the lead in the GT3s.
Yeah, I think Sunday did an absolute banger of a job these past couple of passes on the inside. Let's see if he can hold on to it now, because you saw how close that was through turn number 7. But then again, Hogg had that LMP3 that he absolutely was able to use as a pick. So that's something to think about as well. Still have, as we mentioned, Greg Lorio, the only one to pit in LMP3. It'd be interesting to see if Sunday and Hogg decide to pit at the same time, or if they're going to pit separately. Would not be surprised that if Sunday comes into the pits. Ooh, a little wiggle there out of Hogg going into turn number 7, and now they've got a GT4, I should say, that they have to deal with as Hartley. Your GT4 leader is into the pits. That's actually going to be Mike Dam. So now he's going to draft off of Mike Dam, pop out the last second, and the race is afoot. Now we get to see when the GT3s come into pit. Yeah,
that was audacious attempt of an overtake there from Noah Hogg. Fast up of the race from Zach Hebert with a 1:35.3, and the collision involving Hampton and Weston is under investigation, or is under review. So we'll see what the stewards say on that. I would probably say it'll be no further action, because I think Hampton took the damage from that anyway when he hit the barrier. But we'll see how the stewards. We'll see soon of how the investigation pans out.
Matt telling us she thinks that Weston's undercut is not going to work, and I could see that. I could definitely see that not working. Although I think here's the thing that I think, Tom. I have a feeling that if I'm Aaron Sunday, I'm seeing all this GT4 traffic I'm getting into. I'm pitting. I'm getting there, getting my compulsory pit stop. Plenty of time left to get out there and still run intense with a full tank. As Hebert is now into the pits, they'll give the lead temporarily, possibly the Childs, depending on how fast that pit stop is. Either way, but still, this battle for the lead in GT3 has been absolutely stellar.
It has, and these are still to pit. Remember, looking at the ones who have already pitted, is everyone from Maxwell downwards. And it doesn't look like Weston's going to be able to complete an undercut on Sunday and Hogg, but we'll see soon enough. Having said that, Weston is on tyres that have gathered temperatures since the pit stop. Hebert has left the pit lane now, and he'll rejoin behind Bobby Charles, who only have around about 5 seconds of a gap on his fellow American as they come through turns 12 and 13, the leaders of GT3. Will they decide to pit in this lap? And there goes Sunday. Hogg will follow through as well. Will either of them decide to pit in? Hogg is coming in, as is Sunday. Oh no, sorry, that's not Sunday.
I think Sunday actually.
Yeah, he carried on. Sorry, this Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday stayed out, so Hogg's going to try the undercut, and I don't know if it's going to work, because now Sunday, I'd imagine he saw that, so now it's Sunday's turn to run essentially a qualifying lap, as Jeff Jacobs, David Klibovich is also into the pits. Hyride's in the pits as well, so it's all happening here with about 20 minutes left to go in this race.
Not long to go indeed, and the last set of drivers who have yet to come into the pit lane. I can say that Bobby Charles is obviously yet to come in. We've also yet to see Aaron Sunday come into the pit lane, and everyone else apart from Dan Carrido has come in, but Carrido's already out of the race anyway. There we look at one of the GT3s, now looking at Doug Klimovich. That is Noah Hogg coming out in front of Neil Weston, and they're a lot closer compared to what they were before the pit cycle.
I'll gladly eat my crow. It actually, the undercut may have worked. It's all a matter of how Weston deals with Jeff Jacobs up ahead and GT4, because Jacob's also coming off a pit stop as well, so those tires aren't as warm as they would be as Weston gets a black flag. So that's going to be all for naught for the battle for position, as Weston will have to answer that here in the next couple of laps.
Well, I wonder if that'll be for track limits. It's definitely not for pit lane speeding, because if it was, then we would be seeing that as soon as he came out of the pit lane. So it has to be track limits for Neil Weston.
Remember, he was under investigation for that incident between he and Hampton. I wonder if they gave him the black flag, which, yeah, so he got the penalty for the contact. I don't agree with that. That is,
no, I don't.
No, any other, but then again, it's the race steward's decision. I don't disagree. I don't agree with the decision, but you know what? It is what it is, that's racing, unfortunately. He's the one who's got to take it up with the stewards.
Well, we'll see. Well, he has to take the penalty within the next 3 laps anyway, does Neil Weston. Otherwise, he will be black flagged from this race for good. And that's hurt his chances of going for the victory. As we see Aaron Sunday, who is now the leader in GT3s, but he's trying to run the fuel out to the brim before he enters the pit lane. Into the pit lane comes Bobby Childs. So it's only Aaron Sunday, the only driver left in the race, who has yet to stop.
All right, so let's do this. Let's step aside for a break. We'll kind of break down what exactly happened, and we'll come back for more of the final race of the season here in Barcelona.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sportscar Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Welcome back, and just as we speak, Aaron Sunday has made his way into the pit lane for his mandatory stop in the race, and given how far he has gone, this could be a quicker pit stop that could decide who finishes in second place in the GT3s. Dale Maxwell should go back into the lead, but it's the fact that Noah Hogg is coming round the final corner now, or coming towards the last corner anyway. Neil Weston has served his penalty now, which puts his hopes of finishing on the podium well and truly out of reach. As Sunday completes his stop, he's behind Maxwell, but he's ahead of Hogg, Jeremy.
He is, and now he gets thrown right into the battles. You got a couple of GT4s, one GT3, actually two GT3s there, and a couple of LMP3s all within one another. Hold your breath, this could get nuts quickly. And of course, Klimovic is one lap down, so he's not really in the battle. looks like that the overcut worked for Sunday. Let's talk real quick about the penalty, as Stephen Hudak did tell us that there was a warning by Neil previously for the contact hitting Noah early in the race. So even if this one is iffy, he's getting a penalty. So, okay, there's that as well. So again, like I said, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. As you see now, West falling back, 30 seconds behind the lead for GT4. Of course, everybody's taken their pit stop already. So this battle for second, that's going to be the battle for the bottom step of the podium if Noah Hogg can get the fishing line out and reel in Aaron Sunday.
Yeah, so Weston's got to get the hammer down if he's to salvage a podium finish. The gap between Sunday and Hogg is 3 seconds. Hogg's tyres will be up to temperature. Sunday's has yet to. We'll see whether Hogg can use that to his advantage and close in. Not long left in the race now, less than 15 minutes remaining. Zach Heber leads the way in the LMP3s, nearly 20 seconds clear over João de Gregorio. And it's Bobby Charles in third place, who was the latest of the LMP3 cars to come in for a pit stop. And it looks like he's on his way there with Pan Hyriday on his own in fourth position. In the GT3s, Dale Maxwell on course for victory. The battle for second place is well and truly on though, as we've seen more of the LMP3s go through on Aaron Sunday. And Hogg, well, he's just going to have to really dig deep and hope for a mistake from Hogg ahead, from Sunday ahead.
Of course, anything can happen here in these next 14 minutes or so. But yeah, I mean, Maxwell's got a stranglehold on this GT3 class. You see Hampton trying to get around the GT4 class. Not too far away from him is Doug Klimovich. So Hampton can still get a top 5 and at least salvage something of this race, as he and Klimovich really have had races to forget.
Now turn number 5, they come there is Chris Hampton, who pitted in for repairs earlier, as well as get that mandatory stop done. But like you say, both him and Doug Klimovich have had races to forget. Neil Weston, in terms of his previous lap, he did a 1-4. Oh, that's a car in the bird. That's Klimovich, who's gone round at turn number 8.
Darn near about the same place that he, in the same style that he did earlier on tonight. So, yeah, like I said, when I mean that he had a night to forget, I didn't really mean it. As you see, David Klimovich also at the spin right around the same time. So, sympathy spins for the Klimoviches, but at least Doug can keep going.
And you see Doug Klimovich coming through turn 7. He's missed the apex slightly, and that's the car spinning round. I think we saw someone else do that earlier. I think it was John Casey who did that earlier, Jeremy. And off goes Doug Klimovich again. And that'll be because his tyres, the rear tyres, have totally overheated and refused to basically collaborate with Doug.
Yeah, it's that's not a good situation for Doug, as he dirties his tires even further, and now is going to have to slowly work his way back onto the pavement as he's into the grass. Enough time to get some of that gravel off, but picking up a lot of dirt as well. Let's see if he decides to take the F1 shortcut to try and get some of that gravel off, and now he's just going to go right into the racing line. So Doug Klimovich might have to come down pit road, and the speed that he is coming in, I think that he is indeed going to take a second pit stop, and it might be race over for at least Doug Klimovich.
Yeah, his rear suspension's broken, Jeremy. Look, you can just see how it's the rear stepping out. So that's why.
Walking, yeah, so it's over.
Yeah, that's race over for Doug. Third driver out of the race, and it's been one to forget for him in this season finale. There we go to Aaron Sunday, who's now 14 seconds off Dale Maxwell, but he's slowly pulling away from Hogg, who had a nightmare of, well, say he had a nightmare. I think Hogg is closing in a little bit, but I think Sunday has got enough in hand to just simply hold on. And he'll at least have pleased Rachel, who's been getting involved in the chat and continuing her loyalty for him. And Stephen Hudick is coming saying, so as they run, Noah wins the GT3 championship, Hebo wins the LMP3, and Schrenker had already clinched the GT4. So that is the situation as it is. But I think because The other Shrenker who has competed this season, that is Robert Shrenker, isn't here this evening, so it would have been impossible for Heber to be denied of the championship before a wheel had been turned this evening.
Klimovich takes his faster pair, and he's back out there on the circuit. As you see Di Gregorio going around the outside of Hogg for the just happen one more time, but we haven't touched much on LMP3 because, yeah, that's been a runaway for Zach Hebert. He's now got a 23-second gap over Joao Di Gregorio. And I think I'm going to say that time after time, but either way, Hebert doing a magnificent job of just running up front and doing the best he can. We got less than 10 minutes left to go in this race. Where has the time gone as Hartley gets a slowdown penalty?
Yep, and Rachel's just confirmed she is the wife of Aaron, so thank you for clearing that up, Rachel. Best laps of the race now in all three classes from Heber, Maxwell and Hartley. Heber has just done a 1:35.2. Maxwell has done a 1:43.1 in the GT3s, and Robert Hartley, who's running in third in the GT4s, he has done a 1:51.2.
Tell you what, Maxwell looking comfortable there in the lead as Sunday comes out of the final turn. You see Hogg rounding as well, and Gregorio, was he pinching Sunday there for he was going around, and I'm not sure if he was either way. The second place LMP3 driver is able to get around, but Sunday, what a fantastic race he's had. He's held off Hogg, held off Weston, and he looks set for a runner-up position tonight here at Barcelona. He's done quite well in a platform that has done quite well so far this season in iRacing. Let's see what happens to Doug Klimovich this time as he comes around turn number 1, and he takes the spin cycle, and I'd like to say this, the back end just wanted to see what the front end's looking at.
Yeah, it looks like he's gone out of the pit lane and gone back in again, so I think he's calling it quits though. And yeah, it's been a frustrating evening for Doug Klimovich, but he's back in the pit lane now and not causing any issues for the field. But there we look at Aaron Sunday in second place. The gap between him and Hogg is now increased to just under 5 seconds. So Sunday has second place more or less in the bag unless he makes a mistake from here on in. I have to say a shout out to Mike Dam, who was running in 4th position after that mistake at the corner of which he's just entering. He's made it back into 2nd position and he's 7 seconds off Shrenker. Now he's the lap times he's been posting are not as quick as what Travis has been doing.
No, it really hasn't been, but Travis has just been on another realm these past couple laps. But here's the thing. You got to give a tap of the cap to Mike Dan, having problems early on in the race, and that undercut absolutely worked for him. So great to see that Mike Dan was able to make that happen here in the final race of the season and basically make lemonade out of lemons as, he's fallen back a little bit in the points, but yeah, that battle for second, let's see here, it'll definitely go down to the wire with Mike Dam. I believe he will be able to tie, if not overtake Robert Hartley, depending on if bonuses come into play as well.
Well, here comes over the line. The previous lap that Shrenker had posted was a 1:51.4, and Dam, his lap time, 1:51.7. So Shrenker was able to respond by 3/10 that time around. The closest battle we've got on circuit is basically those two, as the other gaps in the field are just too far stretched, and it looks like the drivers are just settling in for the remaining laps that we've got left. We've got over 6 minutes to go for the LMP3s. Well, 6 minutes to go for the LMP3s. I'd probably say we're looking at 4 more laps of racing.
In those 4 laps, anything can happen. In spite of everybody kind of spaced out, the closest battle we have is literally 5 seconds, and that's between Aaron Sunday and Noah Hogg. But Sunday has dropped the hammer, to say the least. running only about 2 seconds off of his previous best lap time. Jack Hebert still slicing and dicing his way through traffic. Of course, he has the fastest lap of the race, 35.060. No surprise that your pending champion doing quite well, and almost shoves off one of the Orion race team Caymans there, as you see a bunch of rubber and clad get picked up through turn number 8 and in 9. But Hebert well on his way to a championship. Here goes Doug Klimovich once again. This time he makes it through turn 1, goes through turn 2, and the back end still wants to see what that front end's looking like, and the front end goes no.
Yeah, and he's gone back into pit lane this time. But yeah, that is him going back in. And looks like he's going to be staying there for the foreseeable future. His relative, I'll say relative because I don't know for certain which what relation they are, whether they're brother, cousin, or anything like that. But the other Klimovich that we've got left in the field, that is David, running in 5th place. He's got a slowdown to his name. He's going after Jeff Jacobs, who has had a really poor lap last time around, because he did a 156.1, whereas Klimovich did a 152.8. So there may be a battle for 4th position at the very end, but the gap at the moment is 6 seconds, and provided Jacobs doesn't make any more mistakes from here on in, he should be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think that that's the question. How many mistakes are made? But you know, look, you got less than 5 minutes left to go at this point. With the gaps the way they are, back it off and do you know, it's 7, 8 tenths, and just run in the best you can, and you know, finish the season off. This has been a great season for a lot of drivers up and down the paddock. Of course, you know, champions. Also, they're looking forward to this as well.
Well, it's been a brilliant race for the class leaders. I mean, Dale Maxwell has been in command, has been in full command in this one, in the GT3s. Trevor Shrinker, his gap over Mike Dam has increased over more than 8 seconds. So he's clearly on his way to a comfortable win. And Zach Heber's margin is even greater, 27 seconds over his nearest challenger.
Plenty of big gaps all around. So you see the battle for, really, you see Sunday working his way around. So he's getting just a little darker here at Barcelona with the cloud cover. But Sunday, I would have to give him the drive of the race thus far, having to pass 2 very quick competitors in Neil Weston and Noah Hogg. He's looking nice and good, and oh, that's a bad thing for Hogg, as he just wrecks on his own and backs his way around, tries to do the Scandinavian flick, but I'm sorry, the rookie did it better at Phoenix.
Well, it wasn't a very good idea to try and reverse and try to wiggle your way around, especially when there's oncoming traffic heading by. He should have just reversed into the escape road and then rejoined the race that way, rather than just try and wiggle just to form a reverse 180, if you want to call it that. But he's on his way now, but he's behind Weston, who's got back into 3rd place. He's been he's lucky actually to get back into that position, because wouldn't have expected a mistake from Noah Hogg like that. But Weston will take that all day long. But I'd imagine that Hogg will have picked up some damage as he whacked the barrier so hard.
Yeah, it definitely was a hard hit and would not. Well, here's the thing. Now we got a couple laps left. Let's see if Hogg can limp his way to the finish. And of course, Hogg, he's a little bit within striking distance of Weston, but that all depends on if Hogg can keep that Porsche 992 up to pace after that, basically the heavy hit.
And there we see Hogg, just under 4 seconds off Weston, so we'll stay in touch with him in case Weston makes a mistake of his own. Heber's gone over the line, he's got about 1 minute to go. I will say we've got this one and one more, but Heber will just focus on making sure he brings the car home, and I just hope he's got enough fuel in there to make it to the end, because what we have seen in some series that I've commentated on is that a driver could end up short fueling by 1 lap, which has disastrous consequences. As you see, that's Aaron Sunday, isn't it? Who's going through the last corner, 18 seconds off Dale Maxwell, who's on his way to the GT3 win.
And, you know, I saw it actually in a race that commentated earlier today where, you know, some drivers were just 1 lap short. Granted, it was further back in the field, but still, either way, if I'm Zach Hebert, I'm looking at the time I have left. I look at who's behind me. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about pushing it. You got 14 seconds left, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do as he makes his way through the final couple of corners. It's going to be a race to the finish, literally. He might get the checkered flag. You might see the white flag, and no, we are going checkered.
Yeah, it's checkered flag. It's a win for Zach Hebert, the final race of the season in Barcelona. It's been a comfortable drive, and he made it look so easy. And there we see Dale Maxwell, who is going to win out in the GT3s, 19 seconds clear over Aaron Sunday. We should see Travis Schrumke go over the line in a moment as well. He may be ahead on the road, actually, over the GT3, so we'll hopefully go to Travis Schrumke, who is going over the line before. So it's a victory all round for the Orient race team. 1, 2 and 3, with Schrumke leading Mike Dam and Robert Hartley to the finish. And we'll go to Dale Maxwell, who enters the last corner now. And it's going to be a very commanding drive from Dale Maxwell. Flashes the lights in celebration. And it's another victory to his name. What a brilliant drive again. And there is Aaron Sunday, who will please his supporters, including his wife, Rachel, by bringing his car home, his Merc, in 2nd position in class.
Absolutely stellar drive out of Sunday. Made it look like an easy Sunday drive as he comes down the straightaway. Still waiting for the 3rd place finish, which we think is going to go to Neil Weston. And indeed it will, as Chris Hampton a lap down, but Noah Hogg will come across the line and clinch the GT3 championship.
Congratulations to Noah Hogg, who wraps up the championship before this round, but of course he was going to want to compete to put the cherry on the cake. It hadn't been the best race for Noah Hogg, but at least he got some points out of it. It might be his worst score of the season, thinking of it, but even that won't make any difference to his championship standing. And so the race concludes as we wait for the classification to come up, and it's smiles all round. There is Noah Hogg, your GT3 champion, and he'll be celebrating long into the night for absolutely sure. There is the race results. Zach Hebert takes the win over Charles de Gregorio, with Bobby Charles making it to the podium, with Pan Hyriday ensuring that all 4 LMP3 cars make it to the end. Dale Maxwell the winner in the GT3s, followed by Aaron Sunday and Neil Weston. Noah Hogg was 4th in class, followed by Chris Hampton. And in the GT4s, it is Travis Schrumke who comes out on top ahead of Mike Dam and Robert Hartley, making an Orient race team 1, 2 and 3. Jeff Jacobs, David Klimovich and Russ Ruddock were the other drivers to finish. Those that didn't, they were Doug Klimovich, John Casey and Dan Corrido.
And look, even Noah Hogg with a bent-up race car still able to finish 4th. And it's just going to show you the talent level here in this series, as there's a lot of different drivers from different backgrounds who made this happen. Of course, we're celebrating 3 champions tonight, and what a fantastic race. I was able to be a part of race number 1 earlier this season in Daytona, and it's just great to see the talent level in a lot of these series, especially when you have LMP3s going up against GT4s. The speed difference in and of itself is just, astounding. And you know what? Everybody is respectful on the track when it comes to those speed differences.
We'll come to interviews in a moment, but first, an advert for us to play before we close out the stream and get some interviews done.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts, Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go. Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sportscar Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Welcome back, and we'll take the time to speak to some drivers after today's race in Barcelona. We'll speak to the GT3 champion, that is Noah Hogg, who finished today in 4th position. Noah, good evening.
Hello, hello.
Hello indeed. Some of the season some of your season as well as this one, if you want to call this race, you should say, but tricky one. I suppose in Barcelona, but I don't think that takes anything away from what you've managed to come out with overall as far as the standings are concerned.
Yeah, tonight was definitely tricky. I know beforehand I was not looking forward to this track combo. It's not a particularly hard track combo, but a lot of blind corners with the elevation, and it just was not meshing with me very well. But I knew that with the points lead coming in, I just kind of had to keep it as clean as I could. And if you look at my car now, it does not look like I did, but it was good enough, I guess. So yeah, definitely going to celebrate this.
Wonderful. And how are you feeling for next season? Are you going to be back to do this championship next season? And if so, are you going to be in the Porsche again?
I'm definitely going to be back. I haven't decided what car, but I have fallen a little bit in love with the Porsche. I don't know, it just suits me, I guess. But yeah, it worked pretty well for me. We run the Corvette as a team at our endurance events, so I might switch to that, but we'll see.
Wonderful. And anyone who want to shout to Noah before we let you go?
Yeah, absolutely. All season long, my girlfriend and her girls have been supporting me and watching the races and been with me through this whole thing. My parents, and I've got friends that are watching, and then everybody at the team, Velocity Motorsports, they've all been supporting me every race, spotting and cheering me on. And then Steven Hudek, he's technically on a different team, but he has been a major help just as a friend with all the coaching and setup work that he's done over the season with me. So endlessly appreciative of all that.
I'm sure Stephen's done a tremendous job in getting the league together as well. Noah, thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on clinching the GT3 championship this season, and best of luck in the next campaign.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's get a word with the race winner in the GT3 class. That is Dale Maxwell, who absolutely smashed it today here in Barcelona, quite frankly. Dale, a good evening to you.
Hey, thank you.
Was it that easy today?
Well, it's a heck of a time to finally get used to the Mustang. Yeah, it kind of worked out. So
I can imagine. I mean, I don't know what it's like to drive the GT3 Mustang, but what have you noticed with this machine compared to maybe, let's say, a Merc or a BMW? What do you feel the characteristics are like with this compared to its counterparts?
Yeah, it's its own unique animal, that's for sure. I was driving the Merc before, and Merc rotates a lot better. I think it has a little shorter wheelbase, and the Mustang, although it is heavier, it does seem to stick a little more in the corners if you can get it to rotate. And I think I finally learned how to do that.
And as for next season, are you going to be back? And if so, what car are you looking to drive?
I'm probably going to stick with a Mustang for a while. I'm going to go back to the GT4 and start driving that again, and probably just stick with Mustangs for a while.
That's fair enough. Anyone on the shout out to, Dale, before we let you go?
Definitely the wife, the friends. They're all watching right now. Give a shout out to them for putting up with me and all my practice time. Slow Bros are a great group of guys to run with, and you guys for putting on the broadcast, and XMS for keeping this season alive.
Wonderful. Well, Dale, congratulations on taking today's win, and best of luck next season.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You too, as well. That was Dale Maxwell, who came out on top in the GT3 class as far as the race here is concerned. We'll have a word with our GT4 champion. That is Travis Schremke, who not only won the championship, but he also won today's race as well. Travis, a very good evening to you, sir.
Yep, good evening to you.
How was that? I mean, it felt like a very topsy-turvy battle between a lot of those in GT4s. I mean, looking at themselves, Mike Dam, who he made that mistake earlier at the last corner, which he was in the lead for, and then dropped down to 4th place and then making that recovery drive. It kind of took it away in terms of a potential battle between you and him in the closing stages. But do you think you would have held on to the win even with that even without that mistake of his?
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely a tough race. The car, I was just commenting to them how when you watch it from the outside, it looks very stable, but a lot of corners you really fight in the back end on exit. It's loose, a little bit on entry if you're on too much brake, and so definitely a tough drive. So I easily could have made a mistake under pressure with him right there. Unfortunately, just dropped back a little further. I think Rob would have been there as well, but Rob accidentally heard me say tires are free when I said 2 tires are free. So he took 4 tires, and that's what put him back. But otherwise, I think the 3 of us would have been battling right there. And, Dan unfortunately, Dan disconnected. I think he probably could have been there too, if we started battling and doing anything and losing time.
And what about next season? Because, we've got the GT4s, I'd imagine we're back again. Are you sticking with the same machine as what you've got?
Most likely. We like this car. We've built a little bit of setup history now with it. We're also Mike and Leo have been running it in Ivra, so we have some setup information from those tracks as well. So we really like it. It's a fun car to drive. We've been driving it since it wasn't the fastest, and unfortunately, it's nice that it's quick, but it's got some tracks where it's definitely the dominant car. And we kind of picked it when it was a decent car and had a lot of fun with it. I'd love to see more drivers out here next year. This is a great series. Run well, broadcast is always great from your team, and love to see a lot more competition out there like we had before. I think just our split and what we did this year hurt us a little bit, but I think we'll be back stronger than ever and have a great season next time.
Anyone want to shout out to Travis before we let you go?
Obviously, my teammates, Apex Racing and Extreme, for putting this on. We've been doing it a lot of years and a lot of fun, and definitely Ricmotech, the title sponsor. Frank's great out there from the U.S. based side, and I think he probably ships anywhere. But it's great having Frank around and supporting his business.
That's wonderful, Travis. Very, very well done on winning today's race and clinching the GT4 title.
Thank you.
It was Travis Schremke taking the race win there. We'll speak to one final driver before we close out for this evening. That is today's LMP3 winner and the convincing champion. That is Zach. Is it Hebert or Hebert?
Hebert or Abear, depends on who you are and where you're from. But,
I'm from the UK. That very well explained it. I'll just call you Zach for now. Talk us through it, because I really love these LMP3s. They must be an absolute joy to drive, but when you're dodging around GT4s and GT3s, what's the experience like from your view?
And traffic's honestly the fun part. The LMP3 is definitely a love-hate relationship. If you can get it set up right, like tonight, man, it is an absolute dream to drive, just because, again, you've got just as a little more power than a GT3, but you've got the aero of a prototype, so it's kind of like the best of both worlds. But again, traffic's not really terrible here. It's just kind of a lot of give and take, especially around Barcelona. It really depends on where you catch them. You know, coming through turn 3, basically you can swing around the outside, but then if you catch them on the infield section, depending on how much power, how much leeway you give them through corners and stuff, you can get a run on them sometimes through the middle straight towards towards sector 3 and stuff. But again, this car is probably one of my favorites on the service, and I drive it season after season. And again, it's a love-hate relationship, but the traffic around here isn't too terrible. It's just a matter of looking far enough ahead to plan your move, and hopefully they kind of choreograph where they're going as well.
Next season, are you looking to stick in the LMP3, or are you looking at a GT perhaps?
I mulled the idea of jumping over to GT3 just to kind of do something different. Again, I've been racing probably LMP3 for the last 2.5, 3 years at this point. And again, I love the car, but I'm kind of itching for something different. I might, I've considered going up to GTP, just because I'm mainly a prototype guy. But we'll see what next season holds. I'm kind of taking a break kind of through this summer season, just to kind of give myself a little time to refresh and all that, and see what XMR kind of does, series wise. But I'm mulling over some other options for the potential next season.
That's brilliant. Anyone in the shout out to Zach before we let you go?
Just another big shout out to Echelon for supporting me, and just giving me the opportunity to rep the team just as well as I can.
Excellent. Zach, well done today. Well done on wrapping up the title, and we'll see you next season.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Very well done to Zach Heber on taking the win. And just to round things off, Jeremy, very, very happy drivers who have done all they can for this season. And a shout out to the league organisers for putting all this together.
And of course, I also want to thank Jeff Jacobs, especially for making sure that we hit the broadcast notes each and every weekend. So those of us have to slide into the big chairs, we can actually be well prepared and be caught up on the season. So, not many series do that. And it's great for Jeff to do that for people who are busy like myself. And really, Tom, it's great to sit alongside you. Don't get to do it as often, but still, what a great race that we saw today. In spite of the numbers, it was quality over quantity.
I couldn't agree more, and that very much sums up the season. And congratulations to our GT3 champions, Zach Heber in the LMP3 class, in the GT3s that went to Noah Hogg, and Schrenker as well, Travis Schrenker in the GT4 class. Very well done to all three drivers on wrapping up those respective titles. Well, that is that for season 10 of this championship. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do make sure you like and subscribe, and that way you won't miss a thing. And thank you to all the drivers who have been putting on a show, not just this race, but all the other rounds prior. And it's time for me to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll do it all again next season. I am Tom Cairns with Jeremy Scott with a Met behind the scenes, and we'll speak to you again soon when the Ricmotech GT Pro Pedals Sports Car Series returns. And it's good night.